So Julia, what are some of the biggest hurdles that you hear from photographers that they face with regard to connecting, getting families to connect with each other?
I think there's two issues. First of all, it's connecting to the actual family itself. As a photographer and a portrait artist, you need to make that emotional connection. It can be just a tiny one, but enough to bring down the wall, so to speak, and let that family really think that the camera's not there. I mean, they're always going to think it's there, but you want them to connect with you, not the black box in front of your face. So it's number one, connecting with the client, and then number two, connecting with yourself.
Ooh, what do you mean by that?
Connecting with your own core values, connecting with how you see love and family, and that comes from our life experience, and that comes from how we grew up. And it doesn't matter if you have kids or not. I mean, even if you don't have kids, you still understand what this is about. Mm-hmm. And connecting with that within yourself will help you take more emotional, more beautiful, more symbolic family images. Does that make sense?
It does, but I want to go a little bit deeper on that, because that is something that's deep right there.
It is a little bit, yeah.
And that's a hurdle.
It is a big hurdle
for a lot of people.
We're going to try to attack it.
Awesome. What are a couple of the top tips for connecting with yourself and your values?
Well, I think what it really comes down to is exploring how you see family and how you see love. Or familial love. There's a difference between loving your partner and like falling in love, that whole, big red heart crush on the sky kind of thing. There's a difference between that and like the love you have with your family. It's that blood love. It's like, even if you're adopted or whatever, it doesn't matter. It's that person who raised you. It's that connection you felt with them your entire lives. That influences how you see families now, and it influences how you see your own art now. And so getting to the heart of that and really exploring that a little bit, yeah, it's deep, it's a little touchy-feely, but once you allow yourself to be vulnerable, to look at that, you're going to open up a whole new world in your art that you never dreamed possible. And I'm exploring that every day. None of us will ever fully get there.
Right.
But it will help us grow and learn and become more creative and more inspired by the world around us and by the people who are in it.
That hits on a big theme for artists, vulnerability.
Mm-hmm. Huge.
How important do you think vulnerability is to being an artist, and how can you embrace your vulnerability?
It's a scary word, isn't it?
It is.
I mean, people think of vulnerability and they think weak.
Yes.
I'm weak. We're going to break down that, and vulnerability can lead to incredible connection, because when you're vulnerable, you all of a sudden have the chance to have empathy with yourself, and you have the chance to, you can be compassionate with other people more, and it allows you to be authentic, which in turn connects you to those people, yourself, your art, all the above. I mean, there's just this layers and layers of like the domino effect. But on the other hand, if you look at vulnerability as bad and you're shamed, remember George? He's coming back. That inner critic, yes. I mean, he's the shame man. He's the one who tells you you're not worth it. He's the one who tells you your art sucks. He's the one we're constantly fighting on a daily basis. And if you allow him to do that, then vulnerability can go in a bad direction too.
Absolutely.
So we're going to look at both those directions and how you can take it the positive way.
I'm looking forward to that conversation. It's the conversation I like to have every day.
It's a little out there. It's a little bit, it's one of those things where not everybody likes to address it because it's uncomfortable.
Because it's uncomfortable, and that's why it's so important.
Yeah, but I think as artists, discomfort is half of what makes our work good. When you can really embrace that and go, yeah, this is not going to be the most comfortable thing for you to look at, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. There's some artists out there who do really dark, mysterious work, and you look at it and you're like, whoa, that's disturbing. But the reason is because it makes you vulnerable, and that's a good thing because it makes you feel and connect with that art.
Yeah, no.
Is this resonating?
Yes, absolutely. What I'm curious about is there any connection that you make that allows that family then that you're creating art with and art for them to be vulnerable or for them to connect? How do you do that?
And that's really hard. Because when you first talk to, especially with a client, because half the time they're calling you on the phone and you don't really meet them until the pre-consultation or even the shoot sometimes. So how the heck are you going to break down those walls and make them comfortable enough to be vulnerable and see who they really are as a family? Well, that comes in your communication skills, and by opening up your own heart and being vulnerable yourself, you can really, it helps them break down the walls too. Do you know what I mean? You know when someone's, this is such a girl thing, but you know how when we're chicken scratching in the bar or whatever and talking about our lives, the minute one girl shares her story, like all of us do, and it's kind of, you know, and guys do this too, but they're a little bit more reserved about it, but we just talk and we open up. When one person shows their true colors and is their authentic self, it really encourages other people to do that too. And so by coming up with good conversation topics, by learning how to relate to people, you can help them become more vulnerable to you and thereby connect with you on a deeper level, which then in turn makes much more touching, emotional family portraits.